What's up, everybody? It's your boy Devon Taylor here, aka Deezus, and this is my podcast, Deezus Take the Real. No, this is not a religious podcast. It's a podcast where we're talking movies, we're talking life, we're talking all sorts of weird shit. You never know what you're going to hear on this show, because I lied to you. I said it was one thing this week, but it's not. I hope you got really triggered when you saw my clickbaity title, but that is not the case. I'm actually talking feminism in films today, and that is the focus of this episode. It's a solo episode. But I did lie. I said that on last week's episode, I said that this week was going to be the Pitch It Movie podcast episode, which did happen. We recorded it and it was awesome. We recorded their show and my show, but that will be coming out in 2 weeks. One, because I want to hype it up a bit because it was a super fun episode, and two, because I'm very poor at planning my shows. So if you look down my iTunes feed, all the episodes are, there's no consistency with my times. Like, it's all over the place. I've kind of accepted it because a lot of shows, they say, like, whenever you're podcasting, they're like, pick a time and stick to it. Well, I didn't do that. My show times are all over the place. I try to keep it around. Generally, whenever I go in to record, I want to keep it under an hour if I can. But, and before I started podcasting, I never really realized why podcasters would try to keep shows around a certain time. Well, it's because I didn't know about, the space through your hosting website and all that good stuff, a bunch of boring podcast stuff. But I did learn that, and I mismanaged, so last week's episode was so long, and I put so much stuff in it, so it was such a big episode, and I didn't leave myself with enough room for this week's episode. Like, if I was going to do the Pitch It podcast, I didn't want to cut their episode short. Like, I wanted that one to be a long one. So it was either A, not upload an episode at all this week, or B, upload a short solo episode. I went with B because I'm really hitting my groove right now with this podcast. Like, this episode, I am going to be talking feminism in film because I watched two films recently that do not connect, but they actually do connect, and they're very different films. So I'm going to kind of compare and contrast those two films because I really love them, but they portrayed feminism in two different ways that I thought was really interesting. So I'm going to talk that. But before that, I'm going to just kind of give you some updates on the show, kind of a reflection, because I feel like I'm kind of in phase 2 now. Not that that means anything to you, but in the short amount of time that I've been doing the show, there's already been a lot of changes to it. And a lot of changes to it, but things have been going really well. Like, I'm doing good numbers. I'm reaching a good audience. I started a Patreon account, all these different stuff. I'm getting some really cool guests on the pipeline. So I'm going to kind of give you some updates on the show and kind of reflect on my first couple of months of podcasting, and then let you know what's coming in the future as well. And right off the gate, I mentioned it already, so let's get business out of the way first. Check out my Patreon account, guys. I started a Patreon account for the podcast, and this is just, Patreon is to help raise money for the show, because I want the show to keep going. I want to do it bigger and better, but as you might know, podcasting is not free. So even $1 a month makes a big deal, and it's just to help pay for like hosting fees and stuff like that, so that way I can get my show on more platforms, I can get better guests on, and all sorts of stuff like that. So the Patreon account is a big deal. And I already have 3 Patreon supporters in the $1 category. These are the Patreon homies of Deezus Take the Real. So a big shout out to Tess Divine, Manning Franks, and Ty Rothmeral. I never know how to say your last name. But shout out to those 3 people. They are the first patrons of Deezus Take the Real. And what you get for Patreon, guys, there's 3 different reward tiers. And each one, you get different stuff. So the $1 tier, you get a shout out on the show and in the description of the show. So they will also receive that as well. The $5 tier, you get that. And then you also get exclusive content. I'm going to do Patreon exclusive episodes. And then if you're in the $10 category, you get all those things. And then you also get a monthly Skype session for just for us to shoot the shit about movies. Because that's literally one of my favorite things. I just love talking to people about movies. So it'd be kind of taking a break from the show and then, have some one-on-one or do like a live stream maybe. Who knows? So check out the Patreon account, guys. I want to bring some cool stuff for the patrons. But I need your guys' help to keep the show growing because the show's going in a very good direction right now. I got a lot of momentum right now. And I'm super excited about it, and I want you guys to be involved in that. So check out patreon.com/DeezusTakeTheReal. All right, so onward. So I want to start off with some news. News about the show and just kind of reflecting on the show in general. So first things first, next week I have my Oscar recap with Andrew Ormsby is coming back. Andrew Ormsby, you may know him from the Flick Freaks YouTube channel. I think he's sitting at like 38,000 subscribers right now. The guy is big time, and he's a real good friend of mine, so he's going to come on, and we are going to recap the Oscars, because this upcoming Sunday is the Oscars, so that will be next week's episode, and then the episode after that, that is a crossover episode with the Pitch It Movie podcast, guys. Oh my gosh. Guys, we had so much fun. I've really become a fan of their podcast. Like, honestly, I've listened to a shit ton of their podcasts. The Pitch It Movie podcast, they come up with fake movies off the top of their head, and it was supposed to be this week. I teased it last week, but that will be coming in 2 weeks now, guys, because it was such a big, fun-filled episode. I didn't want to cut it short or anything like that, because we had a blast, and I was also on their show as well, and we might try to release them around the same time. We'll see what happens, but we had a lot of fun. We pitched a super fun movie on their podcast. I can't talk about it because it's not out yet, but check that out when it does. And so yeah, be looking out in 2 weeks, the Pitch It Movie podcast. And that's been something that's been really cool about the podcast. And another reason I wanted to do a solo show, because I haven't really done a whole bunch of solo shows. And that was one thing I was kind of scared about whenever I started doing the podcast. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get enough guests, or I don't want to like repeat guests too many times, or, stuff like that. So I was kind of worried that originally I was going to do 1 week a guest and then the next week a solo episode. And I was going to go back and forth, but then I ended up getting so many people that wanted to come on the show, and I've gotten some awesome guests. I have guests like lined up, like I literally had to buy a calendar, which is, I haven't had a calendar, guys, since I was in like 6th grade, like a planner. And I literally had to buy a calendar so that way I could start planning out my guests in advance. So I actually have a bunch of really cool guests coming up, guys. Like, I've been teasing a lot of things lately. I feel like I'm a big tease on the show. And mainly it's not because they're not happening. It's just because they're still in the works. But I have some cool stuff coming, guys, and hopefully some big-time guests coming up as well. And I'm going to start repeating guests as well. Chance came back for his second time. Andrew's coming back for his second time. Tyler will come back at some point. But I'm also reaching out to a bunch of other guests. I will just kind of listen to some random podcasts and kind of see if they are some cool people to come on the show. So I'm currently scouting out a bunch of other guests, so be on the lookout for that, because the podcast community is real cool. I've like joined a few like Facebook groups and stuff, and like met and really just met through Twitter, like Pitch It Podcast. They just they found me on Instagram, and that's how I got in contact with them, and then we made it happen. And I think that's one thing that the podcast community again has over the YouTube community is people are a lot more willing to collaborate. It's a lot easier to go about it. You don't have to, I do have to send emails to people because some people are a little bit more professional. But a lot of the times, like on Twitter, I'm literally just messaging people on Twitter. The first time that sliding into someone's DMs has worked to someone's advantage, and not in a fuckboy fashion. Like, it literally, like, my Twitter DMs are filled with just me conversing with people from other podcasts. So we have a lot of guests coming up soon. But I want to do a solo episode because, surprisingly, my second most popular episode was the last solo episode I did, the Netflix and Kill episode. It was a Friday the 13th episode. And that was a lot of fun, too. I really enjoyed doing that episode. I was always kind of worried about solo episodes in general, because I was like, should I bring in like a second co-host for the show? Am I going to be able to do shows on my own and them still be entertaining enough? But apparently they are. This past week's episode, The Roast, is the most downloaded episode so far. So let's keep that up, guys. But then the second most downloaded episode before that was a solo episode. So I want to make sure I at least do one a month. But as long as I keep getting awesome guests and stuff, I'm going to keep putting them on the show, before I just keep blabbing on by myself. But I want to do a solo episode for this one just to kind of slow down a little bit. This is a really laid-back episode. And yeah, like I said, I just want to kind of update news. I'll also update news on the YouTube channel. I put the podcast on the YouTube channel, but that's really been the only thing that's been uploading, because the podcast kind of took a lot of time. to really get rolling. And so I took a break from YouTube, and I'm trying to get back into YouTube. I'm still having camera issues, so that's the reason I have not returned full-time to YouTube yet. But I'm starting to put stuff on because I will start doing like my live videos, like my R&R videos. I have a new format for them, a new live format for them. So I'm going to start doing those again on my YouTube channel. You will also see Council Chat. That is a movie chat video segment that I'm doing with some friends in my favorite nerdy Facebook group, Movie Talk by Movie Fans. Check it out on Facebook, the Collider Council. But we get a little panel and we do like a little news session, but we do it live on Google Hangouts, and it's a lot of fun. So check that out, and I am hosting that on, I'm not hosting the show, but I'm hosting it on my YouTube channel. Check my YouTube channel, Deezus12, because things are coming back to it. I'm going to start doing a bunch of stuff. So, guys, there's just a lot of stuff going on in the works. Oh, speaking of which, what's coming on to YouTube this week. So, next week, I'm doing an Oscar recap podcast episode. But on my YouTube channel only, I'm doing a live stream hangout of me and Tyler. We are going to be watching the Oscars, probably getting drunk, and we're going to do a live commentary. So really, you're just going to watch us dick around for 3 hours while we watch the Oscars. So subscribe to the channel because I'm going to put out an event for that here in a couple days and start teasing that here pretty soon. So get on the YouTube channel, Deezus12. All right, I think that is enough chitter-chatter about me and what's going on in my world and whatnot, but I just wanted to keep you guys informed on what's coming up on the podcast and my YouTube channel. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the movies because this episode is going to be fairly short. It's going to be a pretty short solo episode. Like I said, my show times are all over the place. I'm going to keep that trend up. I don't know, maybe that's just going to be a thing that my episodes, you never know how long they're going to be anymore. But this one is going to be pretty short. No game today. Not even a Netflix and roast, because I just did a whole roast episode last week. Check out that roast episode if you want some roasting. But I think I'm roasted out for a minute. I think I've done all I can. I have used all my negative energy already. So this is kind of like a follow-up to last week's episode. This is a more positive episode. It's about feminism in Hollywood. I saw 2 really good films that were really good examples of feminism and female empowerment in Hollywood. But, of course, because I am a hater, it's what I do have to throw a little shade at a movie called Bad Moms. A lot of people loved this movie. I did not. I hated this movie. I was mad while I was watching the movie. Like, I was mad moms. It's not Bad Moms, guys. It's a bad movie. And not only is it a bad movie, it totally takes what it's trying to do, and it's trying to empower females, but it's literally using them and, putting feminism in a bad light. It's a very redundant film to me, and I think it backpedals on what it's trying to do. It's trying to empower females. I think it does the opposite because it spends too much time banging it over the head, because the movie's actually, it has some funny parts in it. Like it's kind of funny, but like especially the second half of the film, it really starts hitting home the feminism and the mom empowerment. I described it as mom propaganda. It was momaganda. They were literally just banging it over heads like, moms have fun too, moms want to be fun, moms work hard, and I get it, because that's my thing. I don't think anybody disputes how hard women work and how hard mothers work. Like, moms do have the hardest job on the planet, and I think Bad Moms I think it banged it over its head too much. And so the theme of the episode, feminism. And I've never really described myself as a feminist per se, and it's not because I don't agree with the message. I definitely do. I agree with the message. I think with a lot of good messages, though, I think it's the way that messages are put out there and the way they are received by people. I think feminism now has kind of that bad connotation to it, and people automatically go to the radicals and the irrational feminists. I don't know. So it's not that I don't agree with the message, because I definitely do. It's just, again, it's with any good message, it's the way that it's pushed, peaceful protest versus violent protest, that kind of thing. But I saw 2 movies this year that completely I bought in. I bought into the idea of feminism, to these feminist characters, to these movies that really empower females in a very positive way. In a very positive way, again, without banging you over the head with it. These are also just two very entertaining films, two really, really good films. But they're two very different films. I saw one in theater, and it should have been an Oscar hopeful. It only has one Oscar nomination. I'm pretty pissed about it. And I wish I would have saw it in 2016, because if I did, it would have been in my top 5 films of 2016, and that is 20th Century Women. Guys, I loved this film so much, way more than I was expecting it to. Just because this movie, it's very simple. It's one of those movies, it doesn't really have a plot to it. It's just taking an event happening in some people's lives and you getting insight into their life. Like, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now, and its current description literally just has one sentence. It just says, a story set in 1979 Santa Barbara, California. Dorothea seeks the help of Abby and Julie to raise her son, Jamie. And that's all it says for the plot, because that is essentially the movie. It's about these women raising a young teenage boy, I believe he's 15, 16, in Santa Barbara, California, so it's late 70s. They're in a different place than the rest of the world was at the time as far as accepting people, and especially it was a changing time for women. This movie, one, it's super entertaining because it has one of the best scores. I think it was definitely snubbed for a best score nomination at the Oscars this year. The score, it is so, it really puts you into Santa Barbara, California. Like, I mean, I'm set to move out to California, guys. I love the place, and it made me feel like I was there. It had this really cool vibe, and the camera work had a very hypnotizing quality about it, even though it's not like a super artsy film, and it's like, you know, very reality based. But it did like simple things. Like, there was a transition scene that they used a lot of time of him longboarding down this winding road, and the way it was framed and the music they would put behind it. Like, this film it's so fun to watch, and it's a movie that I was immediately thinking, I can't wait to watch this again. Like, this is a movie I can definitely see myself watching, like, over and over again. Like, it has that rewatchability, which is really important to film. But the biggest thing about this film is the female empowerment aspect of it, and it asks the question, and they literally ask the question out loud throughout the film, do you need a man to raise a man? And that's what the whole idea of it is, because Jamie is a boy who is it's just been him and his mother, and she's starting to see him, you know, go through puberty. He's starting to like girls, all this other kind of stuff. And she notices, and she starts doubting herself as a parent of, is she cut out to raise him? Is she cut out to raise a man without a male figure in his life? And then that's what the whole story is about. Like, Jamie is the only prominent male character other than Billy Crudup's William, who wasn't used in the film as much. That's kind of one of my nitpicks of the film, is he's just not really featured, and that's fine, because the movie's not about him. It's about these women. Annette Bening, potentially robbed of an Oscar nomination. I mean, really, I could say Annette Bening, Greta Gerwig, or Elle Fanning all could have been nominated. They all put in great performances. Elle Fanning and Greta Gerwig had fantastic years this past year. Greta Gerwig was in this. She was in Jackie. She was in Maggie's Plan, which nobody saw, but I loved it. And then you have Elle Fanning, who is coming into her own. She was in The Neon Demon. She was in another movie I can't think off the top of my head recently as well. But I really like Elle Fanning. She is shades of her sister, but I think Elle Fanning's a little bit more mature than Dakota was in her early stages of her career, obviously, because they started at different times. But the females, the three main actresses in the film all give these really distinct performances, because this movie, it's a movie about characters. There is no plot, there is no conflict going on, really. It's just the relationships. You see the relationship between Dorothea and Abby. You see the relationship between Abby and Jamie. You have Julie and Jamie. You have Julie and Dorothea. And then Abby and Julie. It's one of those movies. It's just, you see moments in their relationship and how it's shaping each other's lives. And it really incorporates like what was going on like at the time, like in the 70s, and it does these transitions where Dorothea will tell you what was going on in the world at a specific time and its effect on Jamie. And that's what the whole movie is about. It's about moments having an impact on your life and kind of shaping and molding your perspective. So it has this real feel-good quality, and I really resonated with it because growing up, I don't think I mean, I have sisters, obviously, and my mom, but I mean, I lived with my dad, and I don't know, I wasn't as in touch with my emotions as Jamie was in the film. And that's something that I resonated with because that was something I always wanted. Jamie was that kid that was 15 or 16, and he was a little bit more emotional and not the per se masculine or the typical 16-year-old boy. Like, he just wasn't that kid, and I was that kid back in high school. So I really connected with that. And I thought it was such an interesting mother-son relationship. But all the acting in this movie is fantastic. But like I said, the biggest question is, do you need a man to raise a man? So it's kind of questioning feminism and a woman's role as a parent. Now, switch it over to a movie that I watched. I watched it about a week later. I saw 20th Century Women a couple weeks ago. And then switch it up, I saw The Love Witch. And The Love Witch is this, again, set in the 1970s, so I guess another similarity of the two films. But it's this genre-bending homage to 70s horror. It is a horror film, but not a horror film, I guess, because it really isn't scary or anything. It does have some gore in it. But The Love Witch, it's this throwback film, and it is fantastic. It's led by Samantha Robinson, who I think could have gotten an Oscar nomination. She plays a modern-day witch, Elaine, and Elaine is obsessed with falling in love. That's what she wants. But she wants to fall in love. She wants to have a man. She wants to take care of him. She wants to give him what he wants, so that way she gets what he needs. And it's a very interesting concept, because this is something today. So this movie, it has a very 1960s look, but it's set in modern day. It's super interesting, and it has the Technicolor aesthetic to it, so it really looks like it comes straight out of the late 60s, early 70s, but it is set in modern time. The costumes as well, even. But so you have Samantha Robinson playing Elaine, and it's a tour de force performance. Like, this movie is 2 hours resting on her shoulders, and it's a very confident performance. It's a very bold performance. Like, she has to be very fearless. That's the word I was looking for. It's a very fearless performance because she puts her body out there. She puts her emotions out there, and really uses her body and sexuality to her advantage in this film, and painting it in a very positive light, though. And that's what The Love Witch begs the question of. So you have 20th century women asking, what is a woman's role in being a parent? The Love Witch is asking the question, what is the woman's role in falling in love and relationships and companionships? Because she's explaining what she wants to people, and she's telling them, and she's pretty much like society, like saying, like, oh, like, give in to your man's desires, give him what he wants, and then he'll give you love in return. Like, all I want to do is love. And then these characters are like us, the audience, begging the question, like, why? Like, why can't my man love me the way I am, or the way I do things now? I won't get too much into it, but the dialogue of this film is super strong. It has a really good script to it, and really has you asking the questions. But this is a genre film. This is a horror film, guys, and I love twisted, weird films, and this is a delightfully strange film because she is a modern-day witch that makes love potions, but the love potions don't exactly have positive side effects on the men, and it's the men she encounters until she finally encounters the one that she falls in love with, like actual love, because she was trying... she's trying to force herself to fall in love after she moves on from her last husband dying. And that's a theme of the film. She says, I'm addicted to love. I'm obsessed to it. It kind of has the themes of love music of the 70s. The aesthetic to this movie, and the performance that Samantha Robinson gives, and it's wonderfully directed by Anna Biller. We need more females directing in Hollywood. 20th Century Women is a little bit different. It was directed by Mike Mills, and he is known for the movie Beginners. Haven't seen it, but I've heard good things. And Mike Mills, the movie is based on his relationship with his mother, and one of the other characters is based on his sister, because he said that he felt like he was raised by women. So you have two different directorial point perspectives as well. The Love Witch, through the eyes of a woman, it really shines through, and that's something that we need more in Hollywood. And female directors are starting to get bigger budgets now. They're starting to get more exposure, and it's fantastic. And these two movies really, like I said, they kind of opened my mind. They kind of changed my perspective on the way that I really think about feminism, in terms of, like I said, it's all about the presentation. And I mean, my life revolves around movies, guys. Like, I eat, breathe, and sleep movies. So I guess that it just took that for me to kind of connect with it and kind of change my perspective a little bit. But these are two really good movies that everybody should check out. They're not on Netflix or in theaters anymore. These are movies you either got download them on iTunes or download them on iTunes. But 20th Century Women and The Love Witch, and if you can, like, watch them together, and the comparisons and contrast to them, and you can see it the way I do, because these are, like I said, these are two completely different films. Like, they're on two different ends of the spectrum, for sure. The Love Witch is very sexual. There's a lot of nudity in it, and the thing is, The Love Witch uses it so tastefully, though. Like, all the sex, and I mean, there's not really a lot of sex, but all the sexuality of The Love Witch isn't just there, and it's not just gratuitous, or it's not just because Samantha Robinson is a fucking fox. Like, let me tell you, watch this movie alone just to look, because not only is it shot really well and it looks really good, but Samantha Robinson in this film, oh my goodness, we have a future star on our hands, guys. Look out for Samantha Robinson in future projects. But check out these two films, and it's so weird that the way they can kind of play hand in hand to each other. And these are two very positive examples, though, of feminism in Hollywood, of female empowerment in film, and I want to see more films like this. So if you have more films like that, send your recommendations my way, guys, because I want to see more films like this. I really enjoyed them, and they just kind of hit me in a sweet spot. Yeah, like I said, guys, this is a really laid-back episode. I didn't want to spend too much time talking about movies. I just kind of wanted to give you some updates on the show, updates on my life, and of course, though, let you know what I'm watching in the world of movies. So check out those two films, but make sure you are following the show, guys. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play Music. It's on my YouTube channel, Deezus12, as well. Make sure on iTunes you are leaving those rates and reviews. 5-star reviews get you a shout out on the show. But even if it's not a 5-star review, leave me something anyways. Give me some criticism, some critiques, what you want to see me improve on in the show. As much as I think I am fucking perfect, I am not. I want to improve the show, so leave me some reviews anyways. And follow me on Twitter at Deezus12, on YouTube, Deezus12 as well, Instagram, Deezus12, and check out the Patreon, patreon.com/DeezusTakeTheReal. Episodes come out every Tuesdays, guys. Next week, Oscar recap with Flick Freaks. 2 weeks after that, Pitch It Movie Podcast. Be on the lookout for those. And the live stream on my YouTube channel for the Oscars this Sunday. I will catch you guys later. Peace out, motherfuckers.